It's good to see everyone here this evening. We're in a study of the book of Ecclesiastes. He's the preacher. He's Solomon, king, son of David, king in Jerusalem. We realize that he was blessed with great wisdom from God and enjoyed the wealth that came with being God's king. And God had blessed him tremendously. And we see the early part of his humility and realizing that he didn't ask for wealth, he didn't ask for long life, he didn't ask for get even with my enemies, but he was asking wisdom to guide the people. And God blessed him with so many things because of that humility. God will exalt the humble, but he'll bring down those who are high and mighty and those who are have an interest in themselves and selfishly so. And we see how God works in the kingdom of men. What we're looking at here in this second chapter of Ecclesiastes is that we're talking more vanities of life. And we introduced ourselves to that word vanity. It doesn't mean that it has no existence. It's just that it's not something that's going to last long. It's not permanent. It's something that is going to pass over. We'll pass through it. We talk about our age at the end of the book, young people. And it's vanity. The youth is vanity because in a sense it's fleeing. We have possessions and they have to be replaced. And so it's just there's no profit under the sun. And we'll see that in these first few chapters and especially in our next lesson, time to be born, a time to what? To die. And that's what? So you go through the gambit of life. It's time to build, time to tear down, pluck up, plant. And so you never really, what have you accomplished if you just looked at life under the sun? What is our purpose? And that's what this book, it's a book of wisdom. And it tells us how that we can look at life in a way that as it really is, and then to enjoy it because we follow the wisdom of God. And he helps us to do that. So let's begin in chapter 2 and verse 1. When he says, I said in my heart, now I will prove thee. So he's going to use his wisdom, and he's going to have his mind set. He's not going to be, he's not being drunk and trying to figure out what being merry is. He says, I will prove thee with mirth. And we speak about mirth. There's that word is a lot of times the idea of being foolish and with laughter, might be silliness. And, we say, well, sometimes you need to let your hair down, be silly. And I'm not condemning that. I think God is. But the idea of this type of mirth is it's just for the sake of laughter and so forth. He says, I enjoy pleasure. And behold, he says this was also vanity. So that was his view in our question 1 about mirth, the silliness and that sort of thing that comes along with happiness. It's not just enjoying something. It's this laughter. It could be in a drunken stupor, but he's not looking at it that way. He's just looking at laughter. Does laughter continue to last? No. It's amazing how people, we can laugh at something, but it doesn't last very long, does it? What if we just kept on laughing? Yeah, that's right. So it's fleeing by, just like the riches that we have. It can flee by, and how are we going to deal with that? So if that becomes, I just want to have laughter all the time and mirth and just be silly and live like that. It's not going to be lasting. So it's the idea of vanity that he's speaking about there. So he comes to 2 conclusions. So what were made by him about his wealth. So let's get a picture of his wealth. And he says, verse 3, I search in my heart to cheer my flesh. And he says, with wine and my heart yet guiding me. The Hebrew word and the Greek word, sometimes the word wine is used just for the juice of the grape. And the cluster that's in the wine that's in the cluster of the grape. Has it been broken into with air? And it's not it's not fermented. But he said, I wasn't drinking. If I had, it was not making me drunk. I was understanding this all the way. So I cheer my flesh with wine. And again, we'll see in Ecclesiastes, God had allowed you to have that. He produced that from the ground. It's God's blessing. And so we're not talking about the unfermented thing that makes you do foolish and crazy things in this context. It's not that at all. And all my heart was yet yielding, and with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly till I might see what it was good for the sons of men that it should do under heaven in all the days of their life. And so he's realizing I'm looking for that. It's still vanity. Now, beginning with verse 4, I made me great works. I builded me houses. That's going to cost some funds. You may get it from the taxpayers of the citizens. He said, and from kings that he conquers and those who give him wealth. But he's beginning to talk about his wealth. I planted me vineyards. I made me gardens and parks. I planted me trees, and them all kinds of fruit. I made me ponds of water to water there in the forest where they were reared. I bought men servants. What do you mean bought? I had the wealth to plant and build all these pools, but I bought men servants and maid servants, and had servants born in my house, and also had great possessions, his wealth of herds and flocks. Above all that were before me in Jerusalem. I gathered me also silver and gold, and the treasure of kings and of the provinces. I collected the taxes. I've got things from other kings. I get me men singers and women singers, that delights the sons of men, musical instruments, and that of all sorts. So I was great and increased more than all that were before me in Jerusalem. Now you look at this lifestyle of where it's rejoicing, and he has things, and you have wealth, you have music in your life. You can look at what you planted. You have the waters to help the trees to grow all sorts of different types of fruit. You have the protein from your animals, and you have that as part of your great herds. That's the good life in the days of Solomon. And you think, well, what is the good life for us today? Everybody would have a different thing. Years ago, we'd see the lifestyle of the rich and famous. Did you see those shows? You saw people, how they lived in extravagance and so forth. Did you say, well, I wish I could have that for about a month? Or what have you? What does that bring them? And a lot of times it's fleeing by. You want more and more and more of it. That's the things with pleasure. So verse 9, he says, I was great and increased more than all that were before me in Jerusalem. And said, also my wisdom remained with me. Remember these things with mirth. My wisdom was with me, drinking the fruit of the vine, the grape juice. And I enjoyed that, but my heart was still straight with me. My mind is still there. I'm not being silly. I'm being thoughtful. And so what does he now conclude about his riches? We get these verses 10, 11, 12. Anybody want to, David?
Well, regarding that, he said it's all vanity and striving after the wind. And then next, he said it's no profit under the sun.
Okay. So we need a third one. You got that one, so let's deal with that one. I looked to all my works at my hands had wrought, and all the labor that I had labored to do. And behold, all was vanity. Why? You've got all those gardens and the fruit, but those things died. Those things need to be replanted. You tear down, you replant, that sort of thing. It was vanity. And if that was going to be my perfect garden, there'll be other things come along to disturb it, or you change. Striving after what? There was no profit under the sun. So I didn't gain anything of substance other than that's what I had. Listen to the music. Hear the singers. but there's nothing of substance that he can hold to that will be very lasting. So I think those two go together, vanity and a striving after wind. But look at verse 10. Whatsoever my eyes desired, I kept not from them, withheld my heart from my joy. For my heart rejoiced because of all my labor, and that was my portion. There's one. There's the one I want you to get. That was my portion in all my labor. What was it? Tree sure look pretty today. Got that pool there, all the fruits coming there. That was just a wonderful song you sang. And realizing that, hey, I have people waiting on me, and enjoy the moment. And he says that. And this is the key, because we'll see 8 times in here, he comes back, rejoice in the fruits of your labor. That's what you get out of your wealth. And wealth, in Ecclesiastes, it will be a miser who just builds up his money and see it heap up, and that he's not doing anything with it. He just has all of this money heaped up, and what is that? What good is that? And that's the way a lot of people, this is my wealth. This is what I built up. But what do you get out of that? Other than you heap it up. And it's the idea of using it, as we'll get in chapter 5. But those were the 2 points. It's just a striving after wind because it's vanity. But it's also, my portion was to enjoy the fruits of my labor. And that's what he got out of it. And we're going to find out that's what God wants you to get out of what he gives us, to enjoy it in itself. And you just think about the fruits, the various kinds, the pools, the serenity of the gardens, hearing the wonderful music. All of those things hit our senses, and we're made creatures that can enjoy that. It's marvelous how the ear can pick up to music, and the soothing of the music, or it can excite you, or it can hit our emotions. That's why a lot of people like instrumental music. It's because it hits our emotions, and that's why people, when they want to, well, I'll sing a cappella, but I'm going to sound like a bass drum. I'm going to sound like this, and they have their vocals. It's the moving of the notes and all those things, and we've got to realize it touches our senses. God has created us that way, but he told us how we worship him, and all of that we're creatures to do. Well, enjoy that. And enjoy that. As he said, really, that's what I'm going to get out of life. Now, that's at the beginning of this book. And maybe he's wrong. Maybe he's wrong. Or maybe he's got something that we have that would be good for us. And to now look at, well, let's talk about that labor a little bit. Question 3, how much better is wisdom than folly? Because he's now going to look, well, I'm going to use I'm going to approach things with wisdom. Got the knowledge, but I know how things work together. And therefore, what is comparison? What could I be? I could be a fool. I could be foolish and not try to learn anything about life and experiences. And so he makes this contrast. So how much better is wisdom than folly? Yeah, he makes his eyes in his head. And then the folly just meandering around, does nothing of substance. Therefore he makes some wise decisions. So I turn myself to behold wisdom and madness and folly. He's going to compare and contrast them. What can a man do that cometh after the king? Even so that which hath been done long ago, everything's going to continue on. You'll repeat things. And one of the wonderful things about knowing history and having wisdom is learning from the mistakes before, because they happen again. There's cause and effect, and that we live. And he realizes that. He said, the wise man's eyes are in his head. But a fool would say, I'm going to get rich on that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And there's not any plan in order to make wise decisions. And so he's contrasting that type of life. And he says, as far as light excelleth darkness. That's Solomon's contrast. You ever think about light excelling darkness? Or does darkness excel light? If I'm a thief or a robber, I want to murder somebody, nobody see me, what would they? Death excels light. But we realize, no, that's not the way we want to live. We don't want to be under the cover of darkness all the time. What if we just had darkness in this building? What would you do before you went to sleep? Working hard all day. Well, they won't see me tonight. We have lights. The morning light. We wake up and that sort of thing. And it excels because it exposes things. We see things in here that we couldn't see if it were dark. Yeah, it does. And when God created things, he said there was already darkness, but he created light. And that's something that God has blessed us with. So he said that's how great wisdom is over folly and over the silliness and the emptiness of just mirth, and that's all that's going to be about our life. So that becomes important comparison here. So he's not saying don't be wise. He's just trying to say don't let that be your God. And don't say that's the ultimate thing. I'll just have all the wisdom in the world. I know my history. I know science. I know this. I know that. I've got all these degrees, and I'm just learning how the things work together. And that's good to know how things work together. It's an important function in life. So wisdom excels folly, just like light does. Question number 4, what event and consequence of this event causes Solomon to pause and ask, well, why was I more wise? Realize it's better than being a fool, so hey, wisdom has its place. But what caused him to consider, why was I more wise? Why did that take place? Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. It did. And let's just add another part to that. It comes to both, and what is also comes to both. Both are what? Over time they're forgotten. No, not me. I was the wisest man in all the world. You'll be forgotten. Your peers are going to die out. People are not going to look at history that much. And you'll just kind of fade away in people's minds. And we have history books to cause those events to come back. But that's just very minor. Of all the good people that have lived on this earth, and very wise people, just farmers, and I know men that worked in those fields, that how gifted they were. They had to make everything work instead of going to the town and getting somebody to fix it. They had a lot of wisdom and all that. They die out, and we don't even remember them in another 2 generations, and yet they had wisdom. And what Solomon says is indeed the truth. So in verse 16, for of the wise man, even as the fool, there is no remembrance forever, seeing that in the days to come all will have long been long forgotten. And how doth the wise man die as the fool? So that one event happens. They both die, but in connection with that he says that was what he remembered. Why was I then more wise? Because I'm going to die just like a fool. So what is it? I apply wisdom in my life. That's my portion. And that's a better way to live life than being as a fool. And we're just looking at that comparison. I think that's very modern way of looking at life, even in our times. Do we have a lot more things that give us joy? That's been invented to cause us not to have to work so hard or to bring joy to our life that we have access to? You have access to all sorts of music. You have access to of things that can teach you wisdom, how to operate certain things. It's just remarkable how much you can learn by just being on the internet. And they got that humidifier like I got. How did I get that? How did I get that old red light off? Well, you push it, quick twice, and then you hold it down for 2 seconds, and the light goes off. Well, I've been pushing down on it because I've been reading that's what you do. You hold down. No, you didn't do it right, and you learn. And we learn things, and we have access to know those things, and it brings us joy. We solve the problem. But if that becomes, our focus in life and what we're looking at without God is what we're looking at, it's just, I got the wisdom. But Solomon already speaks, in this chapter, he's going to speak about God. But he realized, I've got my portion here, and that's in agreement with God. Danny, do you have? Okay. Question number 5. What caused Solomon to despair over all his labor? Made him sad. Because he's applying his life to the things that he's wise about accomplishing. So we pick up in verse 18, I hated all my labor when I labored under the sun, seeing that I must leave it unto the man that shall be after me. Well, what's so bad about that? That's right. Will he be a wise man or a fool? I have no control over that. But I will leave that. Of course, that could be, the kids get it, and maybe the kids aren't too wise, and they will blow it. We'll live for their pleasure. And so he hated that. Who knoweth whether he'll be a wise man or a fool? Yet he'll have rule over all my labor when I've labored. And wherein have I showed myself wise under sun? This is also vanity. So, when the rich man is told, thou foolish one, tonight your possessions will be someone else's. Solomon adds to it, and you don't know if they'll be wise or foolish. Let me just add to your sadness. You're going to leave it behind, but Ecclesiastes says, who will have it then? All your work and all your labor can just go up in one vapor of pleasure. Yeah. You don't know what their character is, and that's sad. All right. When you look at that, also, and we'll do this in the next question. What does Solomon consider as a great evil regarding his labor? So we look at part 2 of this, as he looks at his labor and thinks about leaving it behind. What is such a great evil? That's right. It wasn't his, and therefore he probably won't value it as much either. For who hath a man of all of his labor, of the striving in his heart, where he laboreth under the sun? And that's not what I want. I want one before that. Whose labor is wisdom and with knowledge and with skillfulness. So you have wisdom, knowledge, you got skillfulness, and it was effective. I mean, you talk about there's no profit under the sun. This worked. And it's been working all through my life, and we built this business up, and it's working. And you do that. Yet a man that hath not labored therein shall leave it for his portion. This is vanity and great evil. So the epitome of knowledge and wisdom is success. It works. It's about the best way to do it. And I've found that way. And here's the product of that. It's working. And all of a sudden, someone gets it that never labored for that and is not going to have that much interest in it. He didn't have any skill, and it's probably going to deteriorate over time. And what we realize that, even in business, you have to continue to make sure the product is like it was when people praised it. You think about restaurants. Do they lose their effectiveness over time? Food quality goes down. It's just not the place. And because people change. There's not that interest. And maybe somebody has bought it out, and yet it always you have to be using that skill and knowledge there. And Solomon had that. And so there's these these two things that he's looking at, that what has happened, death has happened. Just like the fool and the wise man, one event happened to all, death. So why is he leaving it to somebody else? He's dead. He's dying. He's going to die. And it will, on earth, we pass away, as we saw, the earth abideth forever. As a context, we've already seen that. It abides forever as long as it's capable of lasting. And God will say there are days coming when it won't be lasting. But until then, it'll outlive you. How old is the Grand Canyon now of being discovered? You see that on television or broadcast? I think it's its 100th year or something, since it's been at least declared as one that made it a national park with Roosevelt and so forth. So when you look at that, it's outlived a lot of folks who'll come to there and gone through it, and it abides forever. And every generation said, you got to go see that place. And we'll be able to say that and say that and say that as we deal with generations to come and go, because it's going to be there and it's worth looking at. But we come along, and some people, they would not value that, and they may not gather that in. But it's something that has to continue to be praised and so forth for people to appreciate it. And I just so many things in life are that way, that it is a great evil that it's turned over to, the Grand Canyon now, but the great evil things are turned over to people that are not skilled. They don't care about it, and it runs down. And what did you spend your life doing? All the hours you spent to make that product, to get that business. It's a great evil that sometimes people that don't have the skill or don't have the love to learn the skill that you had to make that bit a success. That's what these three words, wisdom, knowledge, success. It's effective. And that's just left to someone else, because why? We had to die and leave it behind. And the two adult openers that were eye openers is death, and we're going to see in chapter 3 judgment that we'll be looking at. But right now we're looking at death. And how do men of this world look at that? You have senator at 81 years old today is going to resign from being the leader of the Republican Senate. Hopefully be a majority for if you're on that side of the aisle. But he announced today, he said, Father Time always wins. And he had been there longer than anybody else. But Father Time, what does he mean by that? We're moving through life. And Senator McConnell, he remembers sitting on the back seat and hoping somebody remember his name. Now, they know his name, but even this one has to go on. And what will it be left to? You spend all your life to this. What will be happening after that? And that causes people despair. He's despaired about his work. But it's a great evil to realize that no one thinks that is such a great thing anymore. And so if you spend your life on something, you say, well, it's that important. But these are realities that happen. So what you do, you enjoy your time. You enjoy what you accomplish. And sometimes we can't bring ourselves to enjoy the moment we have. We want it to be better, and we want it to be better, and we want to, okay, but you live life and you don't enjoy those moments, even when there can be very, very difficult. Or when you're doing labor and it's not very much fun, you learn, well, how can I make that fun today? I'm not going to make circles and mess up my dad's yard. Now, this will be fun today. No, we're going to do that. But just the idea of labor, I'm going to make that look pretty. I'm going to put all myself and make that look good, and I'll enjoy that. And then what happens to your house, ladies? After you clean it all up and you rejoice in that, what happens? You got to do it again, because it's not going to be permanent, and you just keep doing it, and you can just wear yourself down. But what happens is that there's the moment. Enjoy that. I think Ecclesiastes teaches us to do that. All right, question number 7. What truth does Solomon say goes along with the territory of one's labor? As we look at number 7. What goes along with all your labor and your planning and your efforts and your accomplishments and all of that. What goes along with that? Yeah, sorrow and grief, because you're worried about it. You're worried about it. And so he says, for all his days are but sorrows, and his travail, what is the pressure is, it's just grief. Yea, even in the night, his heart laboreth, or heart taketh no rest. This also is vanity. Now, is that a true statement? Here, for all his days are the sorrows, and the idea of you're working and you accomplish things and you build things or you make things better. And then all of a sudden you go to bed at night and say, well, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? You're planning ahead. So you've got wisdom. You've got skill of thought. And you put all your effort in there. And sometimes what goes along with the territory is that you have no rest. Why do people not want to be the boss? They'd rather be workers. And they turn all that responsibility over to somebody else and just let me work. I've got skill. Why do people want to do that? It's a lot of pressure. And they have no rest. And it's a working man does his 8 hours, whatever it does, it goes home. Sometimes people like that better because of this fact. And that's a fact of life under the sun. And so if you put all your effort in that work, you're going to spend a lot of time fretting over things. You're going to leave it to a fool. And somebody that's going to take over that business has no skill in it, and it'll be done in about 10 years. It's over. What did you get out of that? It's nothing permanent. I think that's the mindset that we're looking at from following Solomon's writing. What is the best we can do with our labor under the sun? Here he hits for, we've already seen, I have my portion. He kind of opened that up, and now he states it, that we'll see this repeated. That's right. Enjoy good in his labor. And that's a very broad statement. I can be showing good in what I'm doing at that moment. Am I helping somebody? Am I making something better? Enjoy that moment. But also can enjoy the fruit of my labor. That's the good. That maybe I'm paid handsomely for that. Or I'm a farmer and I have the good fruits that come from that. I think all of that's together, and we need to enjoy our work. Labor is a wonderful thing, but if we don't enjoy that, I think we're missing out on something. We ought to do what we enjoy to do and make that enjoyable life. But you can look at a lot of things. Taking out the trash, well, how effective will I be? Will I get that in 3 sacks or 2? And how will I get this and that in order here where I don't spend too many steps? I mean, you can have fun with that, and accomplish the work as to be done. But it's not fun. And I just today talk about, there was a plastic flat oil in the gutter at my house. It's yellow, so everybody's looking at it. That's what I'm thinking. I need to clean that up. I said, I'll just pick that thing up and I will take it because I got something else to take, and I will take it to the house and I'll put it in the trash. Well, I was getting my keys, and that thing turned this way, and it got oil all over my tennis shoes. I said, what? I should have left it out there. And when the trash man comes, I could go put it in. I didn't know oil would be in a flat can, a flat thing. So I thought to myself, you fool. And you're trying to be efficient. And so I had to clean my tennis shoes, and I had to, Kathy doesn't know it yet, but I cleaned the oil. I smeared it, okay? I'll probably have to do more with it. But you learn from that. And I just laugh at that. I said, I'm going to get that out of here now. I'm not going to let the neighbors have to look at it. Because it's been there for a day and a half, I think. And I realized there's some complications with that. And so, but I enjoyed the moment of trying to be, I'm efficient. But it didn't work out for my betterment today. But the point is that we need to enjoy our labor and really what comes from that, the fruit of our labor. This I saw that it is from the hand of whom? God. Now he introduced, it's the hand of God. This is what you get out of what I've created and made you sensitive to and give you the wisdom to accomplish things and all. This is your portion. And if we go against that, we're not going to have rest at night. We're going to worry about where it's going to go the next generation. All of those things happen. And that's vanity, striving after wind, and despair. And all of those things set in. That becomes a headache for us. Question number 9. Why is the above action by man considered coming from the hand of God? And then we'll thank you. So we just say it comes from the hand of God. So what does that mean? Does God give us the ability to have wealth? Does he do that? Let's look at this verse 26. For to the man that pleaseth him. What's that about? Well, verse 25 says, for who can eat and who can have enjoyment more than I? For to the man that pleaseth him, God giveth wisdom. If we please God, God will bless us. He gives us wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner, he giveth travail. Because a lot of times the sinner's not going to keep God in his plans and therefore doesn't know the secret, how we enjoy life at the hands of God. But to the sinner he giveth travail, and to gather and to heap up, that he may give it to him that pleaseth God. What's I'm saying? I'll give it to people who please me. God gives us the ability to have wealth and be blessed by it. And he also has the ability to take from this and give to that. Kings conquer other kings, and God has a way of bringing that around and giving it to people who will please him. It's pleasing God. And I think it's a statement that calls you to pause a little bit. Well, he's kind of be a respecter person. Well, he's talking about who he blesses. And that's why this is also vanity and striving after wind. Why? Because the guy's going to heap it up that doesn't please God, and God's going to make sure it's used with getting the hands of other people. And God has a way of making that happen. And I believe that. And what I want to do, I want to get rich, so I'm going to please God. No. I please God and realize I'm going to live life according to what he teaches to do. I may not have anything, but I'm going to enjoy the fruit of my labor, what I do have. And then thank him for every little blessing he gives me and gives you. And I think that's how we should kind of live our life. He gives us knowledge. He gives us the ability to have joy if we apply wisdom as he's trying to teach us here. It may just be smelling the grass when it's in the springtime mold and just enjoying that moment as you smell the fresh cut grass. When's the last time you did that? Well, it's before I had allergy problems. I don't do that anymore. You may think of that sort, but enjoy it when you can, because it's something. The sunshine, things are cut well. It looks neat. What's going to happen in about 5 days with St. Augustine? You're going to mow it again. And you just keep doing that. Your house is going to have to be painted. You're going to have to keep things up. And if you don't realize enjoying the fruits of your labor, enjoying those moments when things are wonderful, then you're going to miss out on life. And I think that's the shame of what we're seeing here. So he said this is striving after wind, because God is in control, and he'll produce things, and he will bless people, and he will transfer funds. We just want to please God and enjoy what we have when we have it. Any thoughts before we end? Okay. Thank you for being here in your participation. And Sunday, I think the quarter changes. Sunday, Ecclesiastes will be chapter 3. We'll start that Sunday. So our class is switched to Old and New Testament. Thank you.